Salutations, everybody. So, apparently the Pope died. You know, I have a pretty good guess of who the new Pope is going to be. He's going to be a right-wing shellbag that's going to be totally supportive of the genocide going on in Gaza. And he's going to suck ass. Yes. Yes, I confess, I have that idea. You know why? Because, see, the other Pope, all the, like, right-wing Catholic douchebags fucking hated him because he was like, hey, you know, like, he actually, like, and this gets sound real fucking wild and crazy and just new wave of shit. He actually followed the teachings of Jesus. And you know those fuckers don't like that. Yeah, no. The Catholic Church isn't like, all like, yeah, man, follow the teachings of Jesus. Because I'm pretty sure Jesus would have probably not let pedophiles run rampant in the church, and, you know, probably wouldn't have, you know, have a big old fucking Vatican City where all the gold goes and all this other crap. Jesus was, you know, there was that whole parable of the rich man, you know, that was easier for the camel to go into the eye of the needle, which is about that big, than a rich man going to heaven. So, you know, to say that they kind of fell far from the teachings of Jesus Christ, and then you have this Pope that's like, no, I'm not even going to live in the city. No, man, I'm going to protest this extravagant wealth because I have principles. They didn't like that shit. So, obviously, you know, with him gone, they're going to pick some right-wing despotic douchebag that's going to support all the shit that these right-wing Catholics fucking love. So, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd rather, you know, they just give the popery as call the popery, the papacy to, I don't know, maybe Papa Emeritus the Fourth. Why not? Give that man something to do. But that's not going to happen. We're going to get some right-wing douchebag. And I saw a thing where it was like, oh, well, here's some progressive popes. I'm like, they're not going to give it progressive pope a chance ever again. Not after all the shit they got from the last one. For the last one, I should say. They're not going to give a progressive pope a chance in hell ever again. They're going to vet that motherfucker to make sure he is just sufficiently right-wing, just dripping with that, like, right-wing Catholicism that all the Catholic fetishists love. And you know what I mean when I mean Catholic fetishists, like the groiper retards all over fucking, you know, all over fucking Reddit, or Reddit, now Twitter, you know, that post all that racist Nazi bullshit. They fucking love it. It's funny because most of them probably don't even go to church or do any of the things that a traditional man would do because, you know, they fetishize. There's a difference between, and I know this is kind of getting off base, there's a difference between someone who actually believes in something and someone who fetishizes it, right? And, you know, and yeah, there are people that actually believe in the Catholic teachings who are also, you know, also right-wing shitheads, but I feel like a lot of this comes from just like that, like, contingent of very, how do I put this, very, like, you know, they converted to Catholicism for the traditionalism and the, you know, anti-degeneracy bullshit and all this other crap. They're very, I think that's the contingent that's most hated, you know, Pope Francis, because again, he was a communist in the stylings of Jesus Christ, and these people think that Jesus was a fucking cuck and would have, as, you know, that one comedian put up, probably would have hung his ass because, you know, he would have been like, hey, you know, feed the poor, care for the poor, feed and care for the sick, you know, all this other shit. They don't like that. You know, they believe in the Ayn Randian capitalism where if you can't afford to live, you just die. Which is ironic because didn't she, like, end her life literally in fucking government, like, housing and shit because she couldn't afford to live otherwise? Like, if they had her dream and her vision, she would have fucking died on the street in just pure destitution by a fucking trash can. Like, these people don't think, you know, they don't think, you know. And you can say, well, it's not fair the taxpayers. Okay, you know, you can say, oh, it's not fair that the taxpayers pay for all this shit. Okay, but think about it this way. Imagine if, I love how, I apologize that this is once again turning into me doing my own attempt at a Highdeology. But bear with me. At some point it might, I might at some point do like a cohesive like video that isn't just, you know, Highdeology Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, some random bitch on the internet. What was I gonna go? I was gonna say something. Okay, actually I was gonna, you know, criticize the billionaires, because that's what you do when, you know, anyway. But, you know, think about it this way. Picture a world where, like, the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musks and all these other fuckers actually had to pay what they owe. Once again, this is what we talk about when we say pay their fair share, right? Pay their fair share. Because motherfuckers on the right will act like, oh, so you just mean like some random motherfucker that makes 50K a year? No, fucker. We're talking people like billionaires and billionaires in our own country that pay their workers so little they have to go on food stamps. Fuckers like that, you know, people like that. That's when we talk. That's what we're talking about. These people that get all these fucking tax cuts to not offer people like actual living wages, even though they could fucking afford it. And it's also Walmart. Look this shit up. How many these people end up on fucking welfare despite the fact that they literally have a job. This shouldn't be a thing. And it's not because high taxes, because people literally are just paid shit by the people that can actually afford to pay them. It's fucking gross, and nobody really says anything. And that's, by the way, why people are so disgusted by the, oh, Katy Perry's in space. And one of my favorite criticisms is, oh, well, when the man does that, as if we weren't all saying the same thing about Jeff fucking Bezos doing it. Like, we're just tired of these wealthy sons of bitches not doing anything of substantive value ever, and then just doing this vapid fucking bullshit where vapid symbolic bullshit where they just go, you know, talk about the divine feminine. Okay, how about we talk about how little people make and how, you know, we have all these wealthy douchebags hoarding all the wealth so that poor people, you know, suffer. Why don't we talk about that? No, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to, I mean, I get it because Katy Perry is also wealthy herself, so that would, you know, be counterintuitive, but at a certain point it just gets tiring, this symbolic bullshit. Especially when, you know, it's done in the lens of, oh, well, a woman did it, or this all-women crew, as if we're supposed to care. Oh, wow, that's great. You know, pink washed right over it. That's really fucking awesome. It's really awesome when, like, you know, working class once again expected to just cheer for this symbolic vapid bullshit, but if they don't, they're bad people because they didn't cheer for the symbolic vapid bullshit. If any of this makes sense, you know, I hope so. But, you know, going back to Pope Francis, you know, he was, you know, he wanted people to, like, not suffer and thought that people should have a good life and, you know. But they don't like that because a lot of these converts are just capitalist shitbags that believe that don't really believe in the teachings of Jesus, would have killed him if he was alive and called him a fucking communist. So don't expect, like, a good, cool Pope. Expect, like, the same flavor Pope that's been there before Francis and will continue on in his absence. So anyway, that was an actually longer video. So yeah, I don't know how many people actually watched this train wreck of video, but you know, I hope it was substantive and interesting at least. So bye everyone.